Hi, I'm Cassandra Parton, CEO of Next Tech Learning. Welcome to Next Tech's Industry Insights, where we talk all things relevant to training and development in today's rapidly changing work environment. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Samantha Bainbridge, Managing Director of Integrate Recruitment, a recruitment agency who specialise in the financial services sector. Samantha has built her agency based on the fundamental skills she learnt throughout her banking and recruitment career and has helped hundreds of candidates find employment. Thank you for joining us today, Samantha. We're excited to have you.
Hi, Cass. Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Amazing. So, Sam, tell us, you work very closely with firms to ensure their roles are fulfilled with the most suitable candidates. What is the number one pain point when hiring?
I think the biggest thing at the moment is someone who has longevity on their resume. It kind of shows us loyalty, which is what employers are really wanting to see at the moment. And honestly, transparency around what their expectations are from a long-term perspective and whether the employer can meet those objectives.
You mentioned the longevity of employment. What are you seeing on CVs at the moment? How quickly are people moving around in the market?
Yeah, so it really does depend on the position, but we are finding that people are moving every couple of years, which isn't an ideal situation, because when an employer is looking to hire someone, recruitment is an expensive exercise, not to mention training, onboarding. You would really kind of want someone to be there for, at least around the 5-year mark. So one move is okay, but if you're seeing someone changing jobs every 2 years, it's just a bit of a red flag for us.
Yeah, no, definitely. You've worked in the recruitment industry a really long time, right? And obviously I came from the recruitment sector previously. So we understand how prior to COVID, working from home, working remotely, the interview process was pretty similar for a number of years, right? How has that changed in this new world?
Yeah, well, especially in the finance industry, it is a very candidate short market at the moment, which means the candidates have the power in these processes. Firms are fighting over candidates. A candidate may have 10 interviews in a day. They'll have job offers within a week, which is something that we never really saw in the past. We used to be able to kind of take our time, interview 1 week, do a second round the next week. But at the moment, we're seeing if you don't get the process done within a couple of days, that you'll most likely miss out on that candidate.
The same, we're hiring internally, and when you go through, it's like you need to move really, really quickly because there's 4 or 5 other job offers by the time you get to that second or third round. So are you finding the number of interviews has decreased in the process as a result?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to explain to employers why they should only be doing 2 interviews. A lot of people go in with the expectation of, maybe we'll do 3 or 4 because we can take our time. We really want to know that this person is right for us. But at the end of the day, you can use the first interview as a way of getting to know the person, finding out what's important to them personally and what their drivers are, and then use that second interview to actually really drive down the skill set and whether they are actually capable to do the job. You find that you can get a very good picture of a candidate and make an offer after that second round.
Amazing. So we know adaptability to change holds obviously a high importance in today's work environment. Are there any specific skills that you've seen, Sam, in employees that they need to have to be equipped for the future?
I think the skill set that's important is knowing how to fit into a culture, knowing the right behaviours to work within a company, and being really transparent about what they want to do long term, because a lot of people in the past would lie to get jobs and would say, look, I'm happy to stay in this admin role for the next 5 years, knowing full well that they were a lot more ambitious than that and wanted to be in a much more senior role. It's important to be upfront about that, because if you're not, the company didn't have those expectations and there is no future for you there, and it ends up just being really messy. From a skill set perspective, I think, going in, being able to speak to customers or clients in layman terms, you know, being able to take a step back from the technology role or a finance role to be able to explain something to someone who knows nothing about your industry and build that relationship, I think is actually the most important skill set.
No, definitely. I think the culture piece that you mentioned, I think it really needs to come from both sides, right? Because they are, it's. I mean, the candidate is king, but also the client, the employer, needs to really share the company vision to the candidate, and the candidate needs to inform the company of what they're expecting from a cultural perspective. I think that is really crucial to have the discussion in the early stage, because there is so many jobs out there in the market. I think employers can really capture the best talent by really, I guess, showcasing the culture that they have within their business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that really needed to change, I think, in the financial services industry. The cultures were always pretty anti-flexibility, and, you know, they didn't necessarily work with their employees, whereas now it's really important for hiring managers, team leaders to catch up with their staff one-on-one, finding out if they're happy, doing those regular check-ins, doing team bonding experiences, and, you know, finding out what's important to their staff, because that's the only way they're going to keep them in a market like this. You know, there are recruiters headhunting, you know, candidates multiple times a day. If a candidate is even slightly unhappy, it's just going to open up a really big can of worms that the employer is probably not going to be very happy with.
100%. And it's difficult to assess the engagement of teams when they are working remotely, right? It's not like you can just walk on the floor and have a conversation or take somebody for a coffee. People can put up a facade on screen, right? So it's really important to be taking the time once they do, you know, obviously start with that organization, to take the time to see how that level of engagement, check in with employees, making sure they are happy, because like you said, if there is just even a whiff of unhappiness, that headhunting is just going to be the door is opening to people. So you're spot on. No, that's really, really important. Thank you so much, Samantha, for sharing your knowledge about recruitment with us today. I've known you for a really long time, and Integrate Recruitment is doing amazing things, looking after candidates and employers alike. So you're doing fantastic in the marketplace. Nextech partners with Australian businesses, both big and small, as well as government organisations, to train and upskill teams. We're committed to supporting your learning culture. So our goal is encapsulated in our mission, which is we partner people with training to unleash the world's potential. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you in next month's Industry Insights session.